Hello, I'm David Speedy, Senior Fellow at the Carnegie Council. This year we're asking you to make a generous contribution to our 2010 Spring Fund Drive. To donate, please click on the pause button. You will be instructed how to make your contribution and then return to this video. Thank you for your support for the Voice of Ethics in International Affairs.
Barack Obama had a wonderful speech early on in his presidency where he said, here are the things we need to do. And he laid out a bunch of things, financial sector reform, the entitlement reform, education reform, and creating a greener economy which would provide sort of a scope for massive new growth. I think all those are sensible, but the devil is in the details. How do you do it in an effective way? And I'd say in terms of objectives, this is great. In terms of actions, I'm not persuaded that the current administration has done what it needs to do. So on the financial sector side, the key to my mind is eliminating this too big to fail, too systematic to fail, whatever you want to call it. And the answer is not silly ideas like let's have a lot of small banks. I mean, we had exactly the opposite idea after the Depression. Let's have a lot of big banks because they won't fail. Now we want a lot of small banks because they can be failed. Well, if they fail all in a row, we will come back to the rescue. So the point is not big, small. It's really trying to get banks to take less, to have the right incentives to take risk, which ultimately, as I said, means that you've got to get the market to penalize the banks when, in fact, it sees them taking risk. The market didn't do it. And I think in many ways it didn't do it not because it didn't understand the risk it was taking, but because it understood it would be fully subsidized, which in fact it has been. I see the massive intervention in housing post the crash, see the massive intervention in the banking sector. Anybody who had a problem got a free loan from the government. We need to break that, and we need to figure out how to make the private sector pay for its own rescues, so it doesn't immediately go to the taxpayer and says, bail me out, while taking all the upside at different times. There are interesting solutions there. For example, create a class of securities which will be held by non-banks, which will be forced to bear a cost if there is a downside, which will be wiped out in any rescue. Make them make more of those classes of securities so that you have buffers, right? One example which we've been advocating is convertible debt that converts to equity if a bank gets into trouble and takes the hit and wipes out the existing equity. So the claim holders all have an incentive without using the bank and society as collateral, so that you're scared to fail the bank because you figure that there may be losses to society. There are things like that we should be thinking of. For example, on energy also. My sense is subsidizing this industry and that industry doesn't make a lot of sense. We were talking earlier. A carbon tax is something that every economist would suggest is the best way forward because it gives the right incentives to create the innovation which will reduce the greenhouse gases. But of course, that has been off the books for a long time. Let's think about bringing that back. So ultimately, there are solutions. The issue is, can we summon up political will? And I think it was Churchill who said, the US tries everything before it does the right thing. So my sense, words to that effect, my sense is we will get there. I have hope and faith that we will get there, but we'll do a lot of stuff before we do.